Welcome, folks. I am Jaby Koay, joined by ACHARA the KIRK.
What's up?
We're looking at new Rockstars, Ms. Marvel trailer breakdown, Easter eggs, and details you missed. Thank you, new Rockstars, for allowing us to react to this. Very, very much appreciate it. Y'all, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, bell icon, all notifications, and pretty please vote this up to let YouTube know you're enjoying what you're watching. All right, let's jump into this. Here we go.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of the trailer for Ms. Marvel, introducing Kamala Khan as the new MCU hero taken directly from my high school years.
Another Avengers shirt, cute.
Not today, Mephisto. I am really digging the vibes of this series, and its trailer is filled with subtle clues for what could really be going on here, so I'm gonna break it all down frame by frame.
Please.
Let's go.
You know, I didn't even address the fact that she had the Captain Marvel costume and then becomes part of the Marvels later on.
Yeah.
Okay, so first off,
Like, that's
I
wild.
just wanna say, I get it.
You know,
You get what?
We open with Kamala's diary, in which she doodles this pig flying into space as she wishes she could be among the stars and one day will be. This might actually be her stuffed animal that we see later on her bed. Coming from a devout Muslim family, she's not supposed to eat pork, but as we saw in the comics, she still loves to smell bacon, calling it delicious, delicious infidel meat. First introduced in the 2013 Captain Marvel comics, Kamala Khan shortly after got her own solo series in 2014, where we saw a Terrigen mist bomb enveloped her and caused her to envision her heroes, Captain Marvel, Iron Man, and Captain America, and she emerged from that cocoon, emulating the appearance of her hero, Carol Danvers, but with the powers to embiggen her limbs until she realized she could just be herself and maintain that stretchy ability in her own form and appearance. Now, Terrigenesis is actually the process by which Inhumans are formed, as we saw with Quake in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but the MCU version of Kamala Khan might be going in a different direction. More on that later. Also, you'll notice among her doodles is Ant-Man versus Man-Ant, with Scott Lang having some fleshy human limbs on that segmented body. Sexiest ant alive. There's also a note for driving lesson today, an essay due on the 19th, scratch that, the 16th, and a reminder to include references and quotes, and a drawing of herself calling this all boring. I also like the little glimpse of Kamala's fashion, with her index fingernail painted a different color.
Accent color.
Past a world history textbook showing ancient Egypt on the cover, a corner of the world that will be explored even sooner on Moon Knight. And then we glide into Kamala's fantasy escapism in the form of her drawings, the Marvel Studios title card within her comic booky sketched out thought bubble. And then the frame itself condenses into a hand-drawn version of that, depicting how Kamala sees her whole world through the filter of her own imagination. Now, covering footage with animated sound effect words, action lines, word bubbles, which you'll notice spill out from beyond that frame, is the kind of aesthetic that we saw in Scott Pilgrim
I guess I was wrong.
and in Spider-Man.
It seems like it's gonna be there a lot.
And now to see it in the MCU like this is a really vibrant choice that not only takes us inside Kamala's mind, but hints at the way her physical powers are actually manifested from her wish fulfillment. Like Wanda Maximoff, her inner world becomes everyone else's physical reality. Now, Kamala's guidance counselor is Mr. Wilson. His name is likely a nod to G. Willow Wilson, who wrote these Ms. Marvel comics, and is also referenced in that desk divider being labeled GWW.
with regards to the comic bubbles and stuff like that, when we watched the teaser trailer, I really wasn't like paying as much attention to that. I thought that maybe that was just part of the advertisement. I didn't realize just how integral that was to the entire show.
I mean, if it is, I think it's really cute and quirky. And I didn't say this in our reaction, but it also kind of gives me Never Have I Ever vibes. Not just because, you know, it's a Daisy main character, but because it's that kind of, oh, I'm a teenager. I have crushes. I'm going through feelings. I'm dealing with all these changes and trying to figure out who I am and all that. And I just really like that kind of quirky style.
I think it's super neat, this notion of her being a big fan of Carol Danvers or Captain Marvel and then becoming part of her team. Because like, you hear stories like that for so many people who were just revered these celebrities or these artists or whatever, and then end up becoming part of that person's team at some point. It's a crazy mind trip to be able to graduate to that level after starting out as a big fan of that person.
Yeah,
you know?
and then becoming a peer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
His office is filled with motivational posters, like that classic, hang in there, kitty. And then on the door, you can totally do this. He's also got tissues on his desk for students who come in crying or leave crying. Because as we saw in No Way Home, getting into the right college can be a pretty stressful thing. Now, this might just be me, but the way Kamala writes her lowercase g's in her word bubbles is just interesting. Circles connected by a straight line.
It looks like crop circles.
I've never seen g's written this way, but I also don't know how those Gen Zers are doing it these days.
Yeah, that's true.
But to me, this at least looks like the middle portion of the Pym Tech.
Oh,
Could just be another example of how
shit.
Kamala is really into Ant-Man, as we saw in her diary, and specifically Ant-Man's Pym Tech enabled ability to embiggen. Moving on.
Oh, wow. Oh, that makes a lot of sense then.
Another Avenger shirt.
I don't know.
Cute.
Or she's just a
She
fan.
thinks I'm some kind of weirdo.
You were a weirdo.
My ex-girlfriend had that same cat poster, but it said "oh shit" instead of hanging there.
You're kind of on my shirt.
Sorry.
Okay, we get this really cool shot of the clock rotating counterclockwise as we anchor on the minute hand flying through the day. Much like Peter Parker in the opening sequence of Spider-Man Homecoming, Kamala Khan just spends her whole school day staring at the clock, waiting for it to end. Behind her is a poster reading, "Vote Dustin for Prez. He's a very good choice." Dustin Barry was actually the set decorator / set buyer for this series, along with Ant-Man and another Ant-Man starring movie, Civil War. But look at you made yourself MCU canon, Dustin Barry. You go, Dustin Barry. Girl Zoe Zimmer deliberately mispronounces Kamala and disses her shirt. Zoe's actually from the Ms. Marvel comics, popular girl whom Kamala ends up saving from the Hudson River, and the two become really good friends, especially with Zoe even developing a crush on Kamala's Turkish-American friend, Nakia Bahadir, seen here alongside Bruno Corelli. Now, Kamala's Avenger shirt reads, "Ladies, let's get informational," with Captain Marvel and Wasp and Valkyrie all wearing glasses. Of course, a play on Olivia Newton-John's Let's Get Physical, I assume inspired by these women and all the others leading that final charge in Endgame. And yeah, Evangeline Lilly, based on your recent comments, let's definitely get informational, please.
I have a question for the audience and for you. There's something I've noticed, and it's not limited to Marvel, but I am curious about it. Do you notice how whenever they have an LGBTQ character or potential LGBTQ plus, but there's so many letters now.
Okay.
A character that fits into that demographic.
Yeah.
Do you notice how they're often minorities? I guess Carol Danvers would count, but they haven't explored that storyline. And again, her lover is non-white, right? Her lover is black.
Well, it's her love interest.
But still.
But she is white.
Yeah, but like most of the time, whenever we see a character that fits in, I want to be corrected on this if I'm wrong. Whenever I see a character that fits into that demographic, they're usually minorities, whether it's Marvel or not.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely noticed that. I also wonder if that is the people who are making the project going, okay, we can hit more minority demographics by shoving them all together in the same thing. Mm-hmm. That's the more cynical part of my mind.
Yeah.
The second part goes, well, if we are putting more minorities in these types of roles, it's also giving more visibility and therefore perhaps in a nice way enabling people who are within that community to feel like they can come out, because sometimes it can be a little bit harder, you know, if you are in a minority community where maybe it's not so free and open to kind of express yourself in that way.
I was just curious. It's not like an attack or anything. It's just something I've noticed a lot, which is you often have that. Okay, Peacemaker.
Yes. Is
another example. Watchmen is an example. Like I've seen that just often.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, oh, Fastos is another one. Mm-hmm. And then in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, America Chavez.
Yeah. Oh, is she?
She's lesbian.
I didn't know that.
She's the first lesbian and superhero in the Marvel. Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's all I'm saying. It's like, I mean, I just noticed that association. I'm just wondering if that's on purpose or if that's just a coincidence. That's all. Because I noticed that more often than I notice with like Caucasian characters being explored that way outside of Carol Danvers. Anyway, that's all.
Obviously, whatever I'm saying is just a guess. It's not like I know.
No, I understand.
It's not like I'm the authority.
I'm just putting that out there, and I'm not saying anyone is. I'm just putting it out there as a question. Like, food for thought.
Kamala sees Zoe with devil horns, and I just gotta say, between this and the devil horns in No Way Home, at this point, it honestly feels like Marvel Studios is just Mephisto trolling me. Which I would say, he sees you. He sees all. In the Circle Q store, Kamala and Bruno stand beside this Captain Marvel cosplay outfit with looks like a paper mache mask. I think Kamala made this. Now, Bruno actually works at this location in the comics. Kamala uses it as her unofficial headquarters. Then at a party, Kamala does some true Scott Pilgrim ogling at Cameron, who looks like he just hopped out of that pool despite everyone else wearing outerwear. Maybe the guy got pushed in or jumped in on a dare or just thirst trapping all these girls. In the comics, Cameron was actually hit with that same Terrigen mist that gave Kamala her powers, causing Cameron to develop an ability where he emits a bluish energy from his body and then channels electrical energy into objects that cause him to glow and explode. He was later recruited by the villain Lineage, framing him here with that blue tinted steam over the pool. Could be a nod to his Terrigen mist origins and his powers. Nakia has tied her headscarf into this beautiful bun, and as they stare at Cameron, notice poor Bruno off to the side, clearly feeling inadequate. No one talks about Bruno.
Oh God. God, don't start that.
Got a bright future ahead of you, making YouTube videos, forcing Lin-Manuel tracks to make the viewers cringe. Also, why am I advising a fictional character? Next clip.
But you're staring out the window in your little
Well, you're advising a fictional character because there are people who relate to that.
Sure.
Kamala, hey, already? Really? Come on, like...
Do I have to figure out my whole future before lunch, or is there like...
Okay, we get this great Euphoria-style shot swooping in on Kamala with the classroom projector light beaming around her right as we hear the Weeknd's blinding lights.
Right.
Her head is totally casting a shadow on that screen, by the way. This is actually the same kind of lighting and framing used in WandaVision to introduce that Skrull who introduced Monica Rambeau in the movie theater projector light. And I do think we will see some Skrulls appear in this Ms. Marvel series to set up the Secret Invasion series. Then the frame cuts back into that hand-drawn inner frame of Kamala's imagination, showing her fantasy suited up in the Captain Marvel outfit, but the one from the beginning of Endgame, the red on top, not the blue topped one that Carol changed into in the final battle and wore in that Shang-Chi post-credit scene. So this fantasy is specifically the Captain Marvel who saved Iron Man. And she strikes a classic Black Widow superhero pose. Nice. Another fantasy shows her suited up, but wearing tiara and carrying roses like the homecoming queen, and then a shot of Cameron on his car with roses, flower petals raining down from nowhere. This is like Kamala's American Beauty fantasy, and I feel just as uncomfortable looking at it. Let's move on.
Maybe they're right.
It's just supposed to be romance.
You just got a wild imagination. That's where the flowers are coming from.
That is not you.
Okay, Kamala and Bruno sit on the roof of this building. That neon sign from the other side actually reads Madison. That first letter is an M there. But beneath their feet is a poster or a painting that I think reads Iron Man there. So like Peter Parker's world, she's just surrounded by iconography of Iron Man and reminders of how he's dead. And again with the steam, there's just lots of mist in this trailer for a story that seemingly won't use Terrigen Mist to give Kamala Khan her powers. Who knows? Terrigen Mist may be behind all of this. We see some shots of Kamala and her family praying at their mosque, and then Kamala and Bruno at this display of a sparkly Captain Marvel costume. The signs in her badge necklace read New Jersey Avengers. Looks like some kind of expo or convention, which might be like that A-Day celebration in the Avengers game that Kamala attends in San Francisco, where a terrorist attack overloads a Terrigen energy crystal powering that helicarrier that ends up releasing a mist that ends up giving Kamala her powers. You'll notice Kamala also wears a Captain Marvel patch on her jacket. The later shot of her on her bike shows this is a green canvas jacket, much like Carol Danvers' flight suit, and it even has that same Air Force test pilot patch on the sleeve. Kamala's mother, Muniba Khan, criticizes her costume that may lead Kamala to defying her parents to attend that convention to show off her cosplay. Really how she gets into all that trouble. Moving on.
It's not really the brown girls from Jersey City who save the world.
I suppose it doesn't matter all that much. I just wish that they made us fall in love with Captain Marvel so that we could appreciate her enthusiasm for Captain Marvel.
Interesting shots here of Kamala snooping around an attic with a flashlight where she finds his chest filled with files and in which she finds these bracelets. These glow when Kamala snaps them on, and you'll notice they have this star burst icon on the cuff, similar to the astral iconography of the Kree that Captain Marvel emulates as her logo. Now in the reaction, I wondered if these could be the nega bands from the Captain Marvel comics given to Captain Marvel by the Kree Supreme Intelligence that ends up really trapping Captain Marvel in the negative zone. Should be a really cool way to bring in the Fantastic Four potentially into the MCU. But based on the powers they give Kamala Khan, they could also be Quasar's quantum bands, which have similar energy projection powers. I'll just say that the design on the cuffs suggests that these come from some kind of alien race, extraterrestrial origin. Personally, I'm getting more Kree vibes. We don't know whose attic this is or why Kamala came up here, but nearby are some lab coats and some lab equipment and a few dollhouse miniatures. One could see more parallels with Hank Pym, who has a history of shrinking down buildings to miniature size, or even with Howard Stark, who had a miniature Stark Expo in his home. But my theory is that this attic could belong to someone in Kamala's community who might be revealed as a Skrull in hiding. Remember, the Skrull Talos, posing as Nick Fury in Spider-Man Far From Home, hinted at a Skrull-Kree shadow war currently being waged.
I thought Kree having sleeper cells was top secret information.
These bracelets could have been Kree weapons of mass destruction stolen and hidden by a Skrull on Earth, and then accidentally discovered by Kamala, thinking they were just cool additions to her cosplay, but then they accidentally power her up into a Kree-powered superhero like her hero, Captain Marvel, which would be what draws Kamala into the Kree-Skrull conflict that Monica Rambeau is now joining the Skrull faction of, based off that WandaVision post-credit scene, which would explain how all these three come together in the Marvels next year.
The mist that he was referencing earlier in the video, because like according to the lore of Miss Marvel, she becomes Miss Marvel because of the mist that she inhales inhales or whatever or touches her.
Yeah.
Like maybe all the mist that you're seeing is just more of an homage. Like, oh, we did this in the comics or something like that. I don't know. They did that a lot, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, that's kind of what he is implying here is that, maybe it's just to, pay homage to that, but they're going a different route with the jewelry, you know.
So with regards to what I was saying earlier during the showing of the trailer again, I feel like I don't have anywhere near the love for Captain Marvel that she does. And I think that if it was something like, because we have a character who is like connected to Iron Man later on and Black Panther, Ironheart.
Yes.
Let's say that she was a fan, because I don't know anything about Ironheart. Let's say she was a fan of Iron Man and Black Panther. I get that. Oh yeah, totally. I understand. I feel that too. Now I can identify with this character. This character, Miss Marvel, is a fan of Captain Marvel. I know that's based on the comics and whatnot. I didn't have time to fall in love with her as a hero.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wonder, again, if that's just, unfortunately, the movie didn't resonate with us. I don't know if that was just like widely panned, if a lot of people felt the same way as we did, or if there are a lot of people out there who watched Captain Marvel and were like, oh my God, I love this movie. Captain Marvel is the best.
I don't think a lot of people felt that way.
Yeah.
I think that Marvel recognizes that a lot of people did not feel that way, didn't resonate with a lot of people, and they're like sort of trying to figure out how to move forward here. That's why I feel like that's why the Marvels is being so like this, and the Marvels is so far down the line. Unless this has always been Marvel's plan, and I'm like totally ignorant to that. It feels like there was a lot of just space. You know, necessary space so that people can like forget how much they didn't like it before.
Or like, oh, we'll just have Captain Marvel, but like in small amounts.
Yeah.
So that, you know, it's like she's still here, but it's not so much.
Yeah. Because the thing about it is you have characters who reprise their roles years later, and it's like at the time that it came out, it didn't get as much love, but because of nostalgia and it's just sort of there in your memory, it's like, oh yeah, that's cool, let's do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if we give it space and time, no pun intended. Is there pun I mean, she's in space.
Sure.
And time doesn't mean anything to her.
Yeah, exactly. That's why she's always late to shit.
There's a pun there somewhere. Anyway,
yeah.
That's why, like, if you just give it enough time, people will forget how much they didn't like something and have more room for it to, you know, embrace it, I guess. I just wish that I had that affection or whatever you call it, love and adoration for Captain Marvel that she does. Not that I necessarily need it in order to appreciate her story. It would just help. That's all.
Well, I know for sure, like one of our good friends, Courtney, she loves Captain Marvel, but more so from the comics than, because when she watched the film with us, she was kind of like,
Yeah.
But she loves the character. Yeah. So, you know.
Because even when he's like, oh yeah, this is the outfit she was wearing when she saved Iron Man, I'm like, but he died. I know it's not related. I know she saved him from space. She saved him from space. I get it. And yeah.
Just my theory there. Little MCU detail there. I love when Kamala first powers up and her eyes glow purple pink. Right behind her is a statue of Rocket Raccoon from that Avengers
Oh.
Just a little clue pointing to, despite this being an Earthbound story, we are dealing with truly cosmic
going
implications
into space,
here. And
baby.
when she falls backwards, she passes some other cosplayers. You can see an Iron Man, 2 different Captain America shields, and then the November footage actually showed a nebula here. But then she falls through the floor into a kind of sunken place, it looks like, but she ends up right side up, surrounded by a new crowd.
The upside down place.
Who are these people? Are they just a mirror reflection of the cosplayers, or are they someone else? Remember, Kree technology is neurally infused. The Supreme Intelligence takes a different form to whomever sees it, and Carol Danvers' infusion through the Kree Tahiti process left her with false memories. So if these bracelets, these cuffs are Kree tech, Kamala in this moment could be mentally projected into the memories of the Kree warrior who last wore these. These others in this purpley realm could be past Kree on the planet Hala. And then Kamala could come out of that state with those Kree powers manifesting her own inner desires, the way the Kree Supreme Intelligence, in a way, reflects something you deeply desire. And of course, these vibrant colors and energy waves definitely match the visuals we saw for Carol Danvers' power up and Monica Rambeau passing through that radiation wall of Westview to become Photon. All 3 women empowered with the same kind of cosmic radiation. On to the next clip.
Did something happen to you?
No, why? Did you hear something?
I love the use of this song. I don't even know the song.
What does it feel like?
It sounds like an 80s song to me, though.
It's a really fun song.
Doesn't it sound
Kamala
80s?
sitting at the table envisions some light pouring into her home through a kind of portal and more mist. Now, I'm not sure if this is literal Terrigen mist or just mist in her mind, but mist! Her brother Amir and her father Yusuf check in on her. Her room is actually filled with Captain Marvel posters by the door. More art of that pig, now a unicorn. Actually, over Kamala's bed is a poster of Captain Marvel showing a specific comic. This is Jerry Dodson's cover of Earth's Mightiest Hero #5. Then we see the Circle Q shop exploding. Oh no. And then Kamala looks at her glowing hands in this place with green walls and weapons and
knives.
I think this actually might be part of a trip Kamala takes to visit relatives in Pakistan, which would be where she meets the vigilante Red Dagger, Kareem. All part of a process, perhaps, to train Kamala to be more of a hero. Kamala says her powers feel cosmic, another indicator that they're coming from the same cosmic radiation source as Monica Rambeau and Carol Danvers' powers. And we see what those look like. She projects these discs of energy that she uses to close doors and then lily pad through the air. Now again, in the comics, she's supposed to be able to stretch or embiggen her limbs, but actually if you look closely at her last jump here, her arms and legs are totally stretchy. This isn't like a Green Lantern energy covering her limbs. It's inside of her, stretching her body out.
I thought I saw something like that earlier. I thought I saw something like that earlier with a punch, where she was like punching someone and her limbs got longer and her fist got big. In the trailer. I thought I saw something like that. Maybe I'm making it up because he talked about it and then I noticed a clip of that.
Yeah.
So.
I always thought I wanted this kind of life, but I never imagined any of this.
You know what you
See?
are.
Like that, right there.
Right, yeah.
Okay, the trailer only hints at this shady group of people in black SUVs. I'm wondering if they could be part of some enforcement agency like the DODC, but in this case, maybe an agency tracking down Skrulls or Inhumans throughout society. We see another misty shot in an alley with these 4 mystery figures. There's a woman, a man, another woman, and another man. Now, I wonder if this group could actually be those Kree sleeper cell agents coming back to reclaim the cuffs, or maybe some Skrull agents coming to recruit her. But actually, you can see that woman on the far left appearing in the background behind Kamala in the wedding venue. So this group is gonna be an ongoing threat that goes after the Khan family, one that she has to take on in the middle of a relative's wedding. And then more shots showing Kamala's visit to Pakistan, a procession of people past a large fire, and then Kamala enters that green building that we saw earlier, following this woman who later asks if she knows what she is. This woman, according to closed caption, is named Najma. That could be the older relative who shelters Kareem, who knows more about those cuffs. Skrull. And then Kamala and the vigilante Red Dagger, Kareem, fight or maybe just spar in this Pakistani train station. Notice the Urdu on the sign there. Her giant fist smashes into that drink stand, and then cutting to a different scene where Kamala retracts the giant fist. This is at the wedding, where right after this we can see her dancing alongside Bruno. Bruno moving in. Bruno playing a pretty big role here, helping a wounded Cameron down the subway car as they both flee men in dark suits you can barely see in the car behind. So Cameron will also play a bigger role in this plot than simply being the hunky boy Kamala is into. He could be a new human, like he becomes in the comics, or maybe a Skrull or a fellow Inhuman that Kamala must protect from that enforcement agency. Then a quick shot of a car getting blown off the ground by a colorful shockwave released by Kamala as she smashes another car. And again, you can see her limbs stretched. She is totally gonna be a shapeshifter in this series. Armored soldiers charge down a school hallway. And then Kamala forms a shield to protect Cameron from gunfire. In the background are some school buses, suggesting this is going down outside that school. It's just so scary to see that shield breaking apart from some of the bullets, showing how Kamala is not yet mastering her powers. She still is in a lot of danger. All right, on to the final clip.
I'm a superhero.
You know what that sounds like?
Okay, after the title,
afterwards.
our final shot shows Kamala sitting on that street light looking out at Manhattan, perfectly recreating of the cover of Miss Marvel
cool.
#5. But I just love how this compares to that earlier shot of her with her bike, staring out at the city with a sense of longing to be part of something bigger. But now, even after becoming a true superhero, she doesn't leave Jersey City for Manhattan, she stays. This is still her home. She's just looking at the city from a higher vantage point, like more of a guardian, protecting her turf from any threats from the big bad city or from beyond. Folks, I am super excited for this series, and of course, New Rockstars is definitely gonna be covering it when it drops on June 8th. So be sure to subscribe to New Rockstars for all of our Marvel content. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EAVoss. You can follow New Rockstars, of course. Thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye.
Oh, that was really, really nice. I feel like I appreciate the series more having seen the breakdown, and I knew there would be way more connections with, you know, the MCU and everything else at large, but I'm also finding myself even more drawn into the coming of age story that, you know, he's kind of talking about here, which I think is so cool.
Yeah, he did a great analysis on this one, and it didn't feel overwhelming. It was like, okay, I see the connections that are happening here, and it's giving me a fuller, more three-dimensional grasp as to what is happening in the scope of her story.
Yeah.
I do like that a lot. In terms of the Weeknd song, it reminds me so much of the instrumental track of this unicorn game. Like the unicorn
game
on my phone, on the iPhone,
yeah.
where it's just the you and the unicorn. It's the side-scrolling game where you're just trying to keep it from dying. You just jump and like crash through rocks. It sounds just like that. It has a very 80s vibe.
It totally does.
Yeah. I mean, I've never heard that song properly, but it sounds really cool, and its implementation into the trailer is awesome.
I mean, I'm quite happy to play that for you sometime, Jaby.
Yeah, exactly. Watching this breakdown and him showing you the Captain Marvel references actually made me quite curious to go and read Captain Marvel. Maybe I can develop my affinity like Courtney has for Captain Marvel that way, because I certainly didn't get it from the movies. I didn't get it from Endgame or any of her participation in any of the Marvel films so far. But maybe I can acquire it, you know, through another means so that I can get even more out of this show. Because I am looking forward to it, even though it's not aimed at me per se. I am looking forward to it and seeing what they do here. So,
what do you mean you don't think Miss Marvel is aimed at you as like
a grown-ass man?
A grown-ass
No, not at all. So, but anyway, I'll enjoy it nonetheless. You guys, thanks so much for hanging out. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell icon. All notifications and vote this up. I am Jaby Koay. This is
ACHARA KIRK.
Peace out.